Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants Podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to immigrant stories. And if it's not your first time here, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back and continuing to support the podcast. I do have two announcements before we get into the episode. The first one is that we got a new review. So I want to read the review out loud. And it is from AC Russ 12. This review was left on Apple Podcasts. And it says, I have been a longtime fan of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. Heidi is an excellent interviewer who knows how to keep the conversations flowing organically, providing an invaluable platform for people to share stories that the world needs to hear. I have learned so much from Heidi and her guests and look forward to each new episode. Not only does it pull back the curtain on an often misunderstood process, but each and every story is incredibly inspiring. Heidi and her guests represent what makes the United States such a special place. 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for leaving that review. This is why I do this, so people can learn, so people can hear stories, and to provide a safe space for immigrants to share their journey of coming to the United States. So thank you so much. If you would like to leave a review, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, and I will share it in the podcast when I receive the new one. So thank you so much for that. And the second announcement is that we officially have another paid subscriber. Yes. So someone sign up for the $10 a month option on Substack to become a paid subscriber. So this is the second paid subscribers that the podcast has. And so we are at a total of 3 sponsors and 2 paid subscribers. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for supporting with money and supporting the podcast. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And actually, I have 3 announcements. So the other one is that I have officially hired a VA to edit the podcast. So, yeah. So, like I told you guys, the money that the podcast brings in goes back to the podcast. It goes back to the production of the podcast. And I had told you guys that it was my goal to eventually bring someone on to the team. So it wasn't just me producing and editing. So I was able to finally do that, bring in a VA to help me with the editing process of this podcast. So now I have a team. Oh my God, that's so exciting. So, again, if you would like to support the podcast with monetization, there's a few ways to do that. You can become a sponsor. There's different packages, and that is the packages all are for a whole year, so 52 episodes. Or if you would like to become a paid subscriber on Substack, there's 2 options. There's the $10 a month or $100 for the whole year. You get exclusive behind the scenes content. You get exclusive content that I don't share anywhere else. I also share in depth my thoughts on different episodes. So there's different content that I provide for the paid subscribers, and eventually I would like to start doing live Q&As on Substack. So that would be only for paid subscribers as well. So yes, thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. My name is Heidy De La Cruz, and I am your host. And today I have Miss Mayble with us, and she is going to be talking about her journey coming to the United States from India. And yes, Mayble, thank you so much for being here today. If you could just introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we can get started in regards to your childhood.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks for inviting me. I'm so excited. My name is Mayble Thomas, and I am a family nurse practitioner. I currently own a medical spa, and I pretty much do all things aesthetic and wellness, and I just love what I do. And I came to the United States, I want to say in the 1990s at the age of 5 from India.
From India. Okay. And so we were talking a little bit before we started recording about like the reason, if you knew, because you came at 5, right? So sometimes kids know,
Yes.
sometimes they don't, or they'll hear things. So I just wanted
Uh-huh.
to get into that, like, if you knew the reason why your parents decided to make that move. I want to say drastic move, right? Because India and the US are
Yeah.
so worlds apart.
Yes. For sure. Um, I guess a lot of the Indians started moving to the United States, I want to say in the 1960s and 70s,
Mhm.
most because of nursing. There was a nursing shortage in the United States. So
Oh,
my dad's, yeah, eldest brother, wife, who was a nurse at the time, came in the early 1960s and 70s. And I know from my dad, they filed for us to come in the 80s, but my dad was in the Indian Air Force in India. So then we ended up coming in later in 1993.
oh, well, a little bit of history there that I had
Yeah.
no idea. Oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty
So,
cool.
mhm.
And what state did you guys end up moving to?
Okay. So initially, so I'm not a Floridian. So I'm in Florida now.
Yes.
So initially we landed in JFK. Most of the Indians land there and then they kind of spread out New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. But my dad's older brother at the time lived in North Carolina. So we actually
Oh,
moved and wasn't there for such a long time, but that's where I first saw my first snow winter experience. We were in Asheville, North Carolina.
so tell us about that, your first snow experience.
So obviously India is hot, unless you're in like North India near the Himalayas. I'm from South India, originally from Kerala, and so seeing snow, I don't think I remember that in the movies or on TV when I was a little kid,
Yeah.
but I do remember playing in snow, having fun, making snow angels. And in the 1990s, I remember we had this like highlighter, funky color type jacket. So that whole snow gear was just really interesting. But I have a picture of that, like with the jacket and
Aw.
everything. So yeah, it's probably
Oh
out of
my
style now.
goodness. Aw,
Yeah,
that's
it was
so
it was nice.
cool.
I love snow. I even love snow now. Like just the whole when it first snows and everything's just like winter white. It's just so beautiful.
So
Hmm.
beautiful. Aw. So how was it growing up, with were your parents like more into adapting it to the American culture, or were they more into like this is our traditions, our values, and things like that? How was that for you?
I want to say a little bit of both.
Okay.
My dad blended a little bit more easier. Like he didn't have an accent. Like you know how some immigrant parents have an accent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When you know he's mad, he'll like curse you out in English and it'll be like with that it's so funny. Like he doesn't have but my mom even now has an accent. Like she even though she still worked and my dad worked and they both had like double jobs at the time, but my dad like he pretty much kept with the times and read a lot, very knowledgeable. And at the same time we still had Indian values at home. Like my mom
Hmm.
still made home cooked meals. We still had
Mm.
Indian prayer. We're a Christian family from India, so we still had like we went to church on Sundays, and then but we went to an Indian church. We grew up with other Indian families because after North Carolina, we moved to Philadelphia, and that's where I
Mm.
grew up pretty much in grade school. So we had a lot of Indian friends and family members that we were kind of around. But then during the daytime, we would, kind of have the American friends and had that American culture kind of blended in. So, I mean, as growing up, starting from the age of 5, I didn't feel like I was an outsider.
Mm. Okay.
But it was because I was little, right? I feel
Yeah.
like it's harder if you're a teenager or when you come from college. Um, so I was just a child, just living my life and being happy. So because
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, hmm.
Love that. And do you remember, it doesn't have to be when you were young, but just remember like any like culture shocks that you experienced while being here in the United States?
I don't know if it was a cultural shock to say. Well, it's funny. I remember my first interaction with a child, I guess you can say, in elementary school, where they didn't understand where I was from because
Oh.
they as elementary kids, right, we're just very
Yeah.
curious. We were learning about Native Americans, right? And they're Indians. So they were like
Yes.
asking me if I was Native American because we were learning about Cherokee or I don't remember, but
Yeah,
like at
yeah.
the time we were learning about Native American history. And he was asking me like, "Are you Native American?" And I was like, "No, I'm Indian from actual India, where
Yes.
Columbus, I guess, had spice." And I had to like explain all that, and it was
Yes.
just funny. But I didn't think of it as like, oh my God, like he was. I don't know if he was making fun of me or not. Like
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
elementary school, you know. So that was
yeah.
the first interaction where with India or being Indian came about, that I
Like
can remember.
having to
Like
explain
explain,
that.
like I'm
Yeah.
not Native American, and I'm obviously now Indian American. It's
Yes,
different.
yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh, okay, interesting. So growing up in Philadelphia, you said you guys had a lot of Indian friends and everything. So
Yeah.
was it very diverse where you grew up or
Yeah. So I
okay.
grew up in Northeast Philly, from first grade all the way up to nursing school, worked there, and then I kind of moved down here to Florida. Um, but yeah, no, there was a big diverse population of like
Mm,
African Americans. We had like a Russian, Ukrainian community, Jewish,
nice.
and like a lot of like brown, like Indians, like from India too, around that area. So and there were white people, but most of the I feel like the white Jewish people kind of moved into the suburbs as I got older a little bit, but a lot of the diversity was still there, like in middle school and high school. So it was good. I liked it,
That's good.
and that's what I'm used to. So inner
Yeah.
city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Let's talk about the first time that you remember visiting India. How was that
Okay.
experience for you?
Well, I think because when I guess the first time I flew on a plane was the age of 5, so I don't really remember that experience.
Hmm.
So the next time, like I guess you have to save up to go to India. Plus it's like 17 plus hours of flight. So I just remember being excited to be on the airplane,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
my ears pop. Like it still pops. It's the one thing I hate about traveling. But when I got there, so we went and at the time, my dad's parents were still alive. So I remember spending my time with my dad's parents. Like one of the fondest memories is me and my sister cutting my grandfather's hair and
Oh.
shaving his beard. And he allows us to do it because we were his grandkids. And my dad was like, yeah, no one will touch his hair, or he would not want to get a haircut. But when we came to visit, we did that for our grandfather. It was a nice, good time. And when we go to India, like all most Indians, we can't take like a 1 or 2 week vacation. You have to like take like a month. Like it's just a
Yeah.
long, by the time you get there, jet lag and come back, it's a long time. So Indians save up their PTOs and
Yeah.
everything, and when they go for like 3 plus weeks. So we went for a month, and it was in March, and it was hot. And I was 8 years old, but it was a good time. It was good memories.
Oh, and you've been in your adult years?
Yes. So after that I remember, I
Hmm.
went right before I went to college. And at that time we went a little traveling. We went up north. That's the first time I got to see the Taj Mahal. So
Nice.
my dad is into traveling a lot. So most Indians usually just go back to their home state and they stay there. But that time we got to do a little bit of traveling, went up to North India and visited like, Taj Mahal and the surrounding areas. And then my recently, we went for our second child's baptism and slash first birthday party, and also my brother-in-law's wedding, which was in 2023. That's the last time we went in January.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah. So
cool. Have you been thinking about starting your very own podcast? Well, I created a podcast course to help you launch your podcast without feeling overwhelmed and with simplicity. Okay. So it is a 6 week podcast course. Each video is less than 15 minutes long, so it doesn't take that much time to get through. And it breaks down the steps that you need to launch your podcast. Again, 6 weeks or less. So you can do it faster than 6 weeks, or you can take longer than 6 weeks. It's all up to you. You do it at your pace. And you will get lifetime access to this course. In addition to the 6 modules or the 6 videos, you also get videos about editing. You'll also get the podcast digital planner, which helps you create your content and helps you with the episode outline. It helps you with the show notes outline. It helps you stay on track with the podcast cycle checklist. It has the guest intake form and also a Google Sheet episode organizer to make sure that you are organized and set up from the jump to be able to plan out your content, organize your episodes, because that is key to long-term podcasting, right? You'll also get 3 exclusive interviews with leading podcasters who are killing it in the industry. And in addition to all of that, you will also get the podcast workbook, like how to launch a podcast workbook that goes along with each module. So you can watch the videos and then also follow along with the workbook. All of that is included in the course. If you are interested, head over to my Stan store. The link is in the show notes and the show description. So you can sign up for the course. And there's also a referral program included. If you refer someone to me to launch their podcast and they sign up for the course, I will give you $50. That's right. You will receive $50 if the person you referred does sign up for the podcast course. So all the information is in my Stan store. If you have any specific questions, you can always email me at Heidy@HeidyDelacruz.com, and let's get your podcast launched. Let's get into your job. So what made you, or did you always know that you wanted to be a nurse practitioner, or how did that came about?
No.
No.
So I guess as having Indian parents, right? I'll be honest, they either kind of put you into that math and science field. Like you can't be like
That is really an Asian thing, because
yeah,
man.
yeah, it is. And I'm pretty sure because majority of us are better at that. We're not going to be like basketball players or something. You know, if they are, it's like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have to be good at what you're going to be good at. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they'll allow you to do sports and after school activities, but they're not going to be like forcing us into playing soccer. They rather put you in a spelling bee, I guess. I don't know. But I suck at spelling. So no, that wasn't something my parents was in. But my mom, she worked in the medical field. So a lot of the Indian wives are in the medical field. So I knew I wanted to do something towards that. And I loved math and science. So I initially I initially got a degree in biology and then then applied to nursing school afterwards because it was funny because in high school I was all like, oh, I'm not going to be a nurse. All the aunties are nurses. Right.
Oh,
so you're
yeah.
just like, yeah, I mean, I knew it was a good reputation, you know, they made money, but I was like, I knew I cared for people, but I just was like, oh, I didn't want to be a nurse. But then it was funny once I got my biology degree and then I started like shadowing other nurses or volunteering at the hospital. I just knew the flexibility of what the nursing degree can give you, the strength of it. I didn't know about that. And I even tell people now, like just getting a basis of just a registered nurse can take you many places, even around the world. It's still a shortage and it's still in demand, you know, because you cannot replace that with AI bots. Like nursing is always going to be there, you know, you can't replace that, like the human touch, you know? So, and that's how I came about going into nursing and I love it.
Okay. And so you have a medical spa. And so I'm curious about this, about the
you should come visit.
I definitely should. Yes. The difference between a medical spa versus just a regular spa and like what services do you offer?
Gotcha. So great question. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are curious about that, even in DeBary, Florida, where my spa is located, because right next to it, it's like a insurance office and a tax office. And they'll just be like, what is this place? You know, if you're not in the aesthetics and wellness world, you won't know.
Yeah.
But a regular spa kind of like has nails, you know, massage, facials, like body type treatments that are more non-invasive skin treatments. And they're usually like staffed by like estheticians, massage therapists, and like non-medical professionals. But a medical spa is supervised by or staffed with like licensed healthcare workers. So either a doctor, MD, NP, or like a physician assistant, a PA. We also do aesthetic treatments, specifically like Botox, fillers, injectables like IV drips, shots, microneedling, laser hair, IPL, and medical grade type services, and carry medical grade skincare lines. So it's all related to the medical aspect. So a
So
little bit
the
more invasive than just a regular spa. So yeah, we definitely don't do massages. But I do have two estheticians, so they do still have facials, but they can do a little bit more medical grade type and carry a
Mhm.
little bit more medical grade because I'm there as
Yeah.
the owner and I kind of oversee a little bit of that. Hmm.
Okay, perfect. And how long have you had your spa?
So we opened, it's funny, the story behind that, but during COVID. So we opened in October
Mm,
2020. So it's going on 4 years now, actually, next month.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
it's
It flew
funny.
by.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, congratulations on almost 4 years of your business. So next month
Thank
in
you.
October, that is amazing. I do remember hearing like a lot of people actually started either online businesses or
Hmm.
businesses during COVID, and they just have done really well and just have
Hmm.
thrived and everything. So that's really
Hmm.
cool. So what do you most like about your business and the work that you do?
I love the autonomy, like the
Mm.
fact that, I can kind of do my own schedule. But and I can also be there for my family. Like the main reason behind it is like, honestly, today my oldest is sick, so he's off from school. Well,
Oh,
no, I mean, I kept him, he's not off from school, but I kept him
yeah,
at
yeah.
home because he had a fever and he never gets
Oh,
sick. But it's like Mondays are great for me because I usually don't take appointments today. I usually do run errands, do my self care, go to the gym, and today I can stay home with him because he had a fever. So the flexibility. Now I'm just so used to not having a boss. Like, it's kind of
yeah.
like, but the thing is, you still have to be accountable for yourself. Like,
Oh,
have
yeah.
your own to-do list and do things because, again, like you said, like I am better off than 4 years ago, but it's because I've been working hard at my business and growing my empire. So I
So
love that.
what did you do before you had the business?
So at the time when COVID hit, I was teaching nursing school. So I love that part. I
Oh,
love educating. I love teaching. Even as a nurse, when I worked at the hospital on the floor, once I, got to doing something and I knew about it, I liked training other people. Or when I used to have nursing students even come on the floor as a, during their maternity rotation when I worked on mother baby. I was like, here, come give the baby a bath. And they loved it. So I
yeah.
love that teaching aspect. And that's what I did during COVID when COVID
During
hit.
COVID.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, that's exciting and see how
Thank you.
you transition and open your own
Hmm.
business and now you're just thriving. So, one question that I love to ask my guests just wrapping up the episode is what does the American dream mean to you?
So the American dream to me is a journey of self-discovery
Mhm.
and integration where I had to navigate both the Indian and American cultures. So, like I said earlier, like I did come at the age of 5. So it may not be as such a struggle as someone came when they were, a teenager or college years, but I still had to assimilate, right? Like during the daytime school days, I was with my, American friends. And then the evenings I'm with my parents, that kept the Indian culture. And then on the weekends, I'm at church with my Indian friends and family members there too. So it was just, I didn't feel like I had to like, revert back and forth or be two different identities. It just kind of blended into one and kind of had my own voice. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and like for example, like I'm in that immigrant like generation, like our kids won't doesn't know the feeling of struggle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, of like hardworking. And my thought process now is more like work smart, not hard. And my kids, I don't even know what their hardworking thought process is going to be. But like that American dream is, I feel like, being in America, it does open up many doors and give you so much opportunities.
Yeah.
And you just have to grab it. You just have to be that motivated, consistent, person, that in whatever you want to be, especially in America, you can be.
Yeah.
That's that you do. Because I'll be honest, in India, you don't have that much opportunity because there isn't a lot of open spots.
Mm.
There isn't a lot of offers, or the bank just doesn't give you a loan if you want to go to school. Like, back home, you would have to like put your house on a loan or a lien or whatever it's called to be
Hmm.
able to even get a loan, and then the money's just not available. Like it's so much like we take it for granted here, but We have scholarships, there's so many schools, there's accessibility, yeah. So yeah, the
Yeah.
American dream. Yep.
Awesome. And how can people connect with you?
So I'm definitely on social media. So you guys can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Emerald Lux Medical Spa. I also have an injector account called Sunkiss Injector. So I kind of try to do and post things on both of them. But yeah, no, I definitely am posting on my stories. DM me, guys. You can also text me at the number if you have any specific questions, 386-588-2999.
Perfect. I will include all your links, include the phone number in the show notes and in the show description so people can have easy access to that. And thank you, Mayble, so much for this. I am so proud of, the work that you're doing. And just thank you so much for being willing to come on and share your journey with the audience. Any last words or piece of advice that you would give the audience?
I just feel like, whatever dream or goals that you may have, stick with it. I'll be honest, going into a nursing school or being a nurse, I never thought I was going to be a business owner of like a medical spa, for example. But it's just funny how life takes you there, So when one door closes, another one definitely opens. So I would just never give up. Just, see life as a cup half, full, not half empty. And that's how I live, basically.
Never give up. I love that. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Heidi.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.